Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel where I share tips and tricks on drawing with colour pencils. Today I'm going to give you some tips for drawing long fur, and it's not nearly as difficult as it may seem. If you want to use the techniques I have in this video, then you will need some graphics drafting film, some colour pencils. I've used Faber-Castell Polychromos and Caran d'Ache Luminance. I've used oranges, browns, pinks and reds for this piece. You'll need a slice tool, I like the manual pen cutter, and a Tombow Mono 2.3mm eraser. I started out by mapping out very rough idea of the fur. I think we have to realise and remember that we don't have to have a complete replica of the photograph. It's the look and feel that's important. I used a luminance, I think it's a warm earth 5%, just to kind of get an idea of where some of the curls are going to go and just a feel of the waves really of the fur. Because I like to work in sections, I then moved up to the top of the ear and I started to bring in a little bit more detail. Because I'm working with drafting film, we don't need to put as many layers in as we would traditional drawing surfaces. So it's you can get to the details really quickly. If you like details, drafting film is a fantastic surface to work on. And again, I just started to work down the ear, very quickly bringing in some of those darker elements. It's really important to get those lovely values in. You've got to kind of keep your wits about you at this stage because it can look a little bit strange, can look a little bit ugly when you're just blocking colour in. But then we come back up to the top again and we start to really look at the details. I'm using the Tombow Mono 2.3mm eraser here. Comes in the black. I've also got one in it's blue and white, I think, the casing of it. But it's exactly the same tool. And what I do is I just very gently, I'll use as gentle pressure as I can get away with to just bring in, and I like to think of this as being bringing in highlights rather than erasing pigment. I think if you can get your brain around the fact that you're actually adding something rather than taking it away, that makes it a little bit easier to sort of comprehend. So I'll use my Tombow for some lovely soft highlights in the fur, and now I'm using the slice tool, a brilliant tool. This is the manual pen cutter. I like it because it's got a thicker blade. It's really quite gentle, if you can call a blade gentle, on the drafting film, but you're not going to damage the surface of the film basically. And then all I'm using is a blusher brush just to brush the pigment away. Be very careful using a brush on other surfaces. Hot press paper, you're okay, but don't ever use a brush on pastel mat because you will brush all of your pigment and you will smudge it all. So we're coming down to the bottom of the ear here. Again, it's all a case of adding pencil in and then bringing those lovely soft highlights and the texture in, using subtraction techniques, so using the Tombow Mono and using the slice tool. What we're trying to get is we're trying to get an effect of layering. Hair like this is layered over the top of each other. We have areas that are very deep in, and we have areas where the hair is literally sitting on the surface, and that's what we want to try and replicate. If we try and copy the photograph exactly, it's going to be frustrating and it's going to take an awfully long time. This whole ear took me, I think, about 3 hours to do. So in the whole scheme of things, not a massive amount of time because it is quite a big drawing. But for me, the really important bit is to get the softness, to get the flow, to get the feel of all of that beautiful hair layered up over the top of each other. The dark and the lights are incredibly important. Of course, we have to concentrate on the values, really important. The values are basically dictated by the source of light. So the light comes in where it shines directly onto the subject. You're going to get highlights. Where the light is hidden or where the fur is hidden from the direct light, then you're going to get shadows. And that is what is going to give you really beautiful structure and form of your drawings. Incredibly important to concentrate heavily on your values, on your darks and your lights. And then it's just a case of tweaking, creating extra shadows, looking to see where you can bring like a little bit more of a curl in or accentuate a shadow somewhere or bring out another highlight. What you're looking for is softness. What tends to happen an awful lot of the time with long fur we tend to end up with fur that looks like strands of spaghetti or string. And the reason that that happens is because very often we're told to concentrate on shapes. Concentrate on the shapes, and that's what's going to give you your curls and your fur. And actually, we concentrate too hard on the shapes and we end up outlining it. And if you have fur that has got an outline around it, it's going to look stringy. It's going to look a little bit like spaghetti. So it's really important to think of each sort of chunk of hair as your own little masterpiece. Lots and lots of little tiny masterpieces. And each masterpiece has got its own light source. So you're looking for a lovely softness of light and dark. And then you get the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful drawings.